What number episode is it?
Fuck if I know.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Welcome back to Old Bollocks. It is an absolute pleasure to be in your ears and also in front of your eyes if you're on the Old Head YouTube channel. Welcome back. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. I mean, we started the Zoom a few minutes ago, didn't we? We've kind of done this, but
we both know we're all right.
yeah, absolutely. We both know it's Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here for your delectation. We're going to go through, as usual, a bunch of albums, and I haven't got a clue what you're going to do, and you haven't got a clue what I'm going to do.
We've talked zero about any of this, so
Yeah.
that it'll be interesting. I have one that you may talk about, but
Right.
the other two, I'm almost positive you won't. So
Right. Okay. Well, I've gone backwards and not rediscovered, but bought an old remaster that I hadn't got, yeah, got a CD of an old album, which just reminded me what a great album it is. It's also one of those bands that I only like one of their albums, and this is it. And if you out there have those bands, those albums where you just like one album by a band, and like no matter how much you try, no, it's just that album. Let us know. Let us know your band and album.
I have a
So
few
yeah,
like that.
yeah, I do as well. Actually, I do like Devin Townsend, the Devin Townsend Project album, Addicted. Fucking
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
I have no time for anything else he's ever done.
Well, it's a bit of a chore, some of his stuff, like getting through it.
Yeah, well, I tell a lie. Again, I only like one album of Strapping Young Lad.
Well, there you go.
But I mean, okay, there's a Devin link, but actual Devin stuff, yes.
Yeah. The band that comes to mind for me is Baroness. I like their first full length album a lot, and then I really fell off with them, and I haven't found my way back. I guess you could probably throw Ghost in that category too, because I like the first Ghost album, and I haven't really found myself into an entire album that they've done since. So
Yeah, yeah.
it happens.
I yeah, I can't even name a song of Ghost that I like. But yeah, I'm trying to think of another band who've done one album, and bands who've only done one album obviously don't count.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think of another band where Soulfly. Soulfly.
You like the first one?
No, I think the album's. This is terrible. I can't even remember what it's called. Right, let's go for it. Doesn't matter to the listener, but it's the viewer. I'm just going to go for a little wonder.
There was the one that we talked about on an episode called Totem, and I liked that one.
Yeah, no, it's not that one. Conqueror.
Conqueror. Okay, that's
Yeah.
like the third or fourth one. Okay.
Andy Sneap produced.
Yep.
It's fucking crushing. Love it.
Mhm.
And I hung in there like you do for 3 or 4 albums. Maybe it'll come back. No, that was the high point for you, Howard. That's it. You're out now. So yeah, just that one album. And there must be loads of other bands as well where I'm kind of like, one album and out.
Yeah.
But well, here's a feature we didn't know we were doing.
Yeah. we should put more thought into it and do an entire episode just about bands that have one or two albums, and then that's it.
But yeah, I think both of us, by the sounds of it, have got a few examples. I've come up with a few there, and I can think of quite a few more. Biohazard, there you go. There's another one.
Fear Factory. I like their first album, and then that's as far as it goes. I don't even really like Demanufacture. Is not even one I really like that much. But
spoiler alert, that's the album that I've just got the CD of, and that's the album of theirs that I like, and I don't like anything else.
Yeah, we recently did Cranked and Ranked Fear Factory, so I got to go through and listen to everything they put out, and so I confirmed that I actually am not into anything they've done really, except for the first album. So
right, okay.
So that was fun, but we've got newer stuff to talk about today too, right? I've got three new ones.
I've got one. I've got one I think you've reviewed somewhere, but I'm sure you won't mind talking about it again. And a digital single. It is released on vinyl, but it's also a digital single, 2 songs from a band.
Okay.
So there you go.
So I mean, everyone's. Have you done a rant on the new Metallica yet? Because maybe we should just get that out of the way. I don't need to say anything.
That's the album I think that you might have reviewed somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah, there's literally an hour and a half review with me and Eddie.
Yeah,
talking about the album. So if
I did see, I deliberately didn't watch because
okay,
you know.
After you do yours, I can give you like the truncated version of that review.
Oh no! Please don't.
We can start there though.
Let's start with the fact I have it on CD. All of a sudden, the singles started growing in me. I couldn't get away from "If Darkness Had a Sun," that chorus, and then re-listening to Lux Eterna. So I think, oh, that's all right. Screaming Suicide, that's all right. And then the album came out, and I heard a few bits and pieces, and I just thought, this is, yeah, there's stuff here. So I got the CD. As well as getting the CD for His Legend, Endless Hallway at the time as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and I mean that album sounds fucking great. So anyway, then back to Metallica. Got the CD, and then I heard 72 Seasons as well, and I was like, yeah, maybe. So get the album, 72 Seasons, yeah, not bad. Then Shadows Follow. Mark was playing me the video when we were on tour, and I was like, cool video, but like, I'm liking the song as well. I'm just liking some bits and pieces, apart from the fucking Batman bit. How nobody in the band or anybody near the band.
I think they did. I'm pretty sure that was on purpose. It's Shadows Follow, The Dark Knight. I'm pretty sure it was on purpose.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I might be totally wrong, but it seemed very obvious to me.
Get you! You're like a proper critic now. I was like, right, okay, this is like, better than I was expecting. Screaming Suicide, okay. Sleepwalk My Life Away and You Must Burn. Just both examples of songs that go on too long and weigh the album down. I'll get deeper into what I have trouble with. But then Lux Eterna comes along, and what Lux Eterna does is remind you how weighed down Metallica have become in the last 14 minutes of Sleepwalk My Life Away and You Must Burn. Because Lux Eterna is like somebody opened a fucking window when that comes in, and it really makes you sit up and go, oh yeah, right, okay, yeah, they can do another groove, because they've been doing round about the same one for the last 14 minutes. So Lux Eterna really kind of like, I think, is a little bit of a kickstart. Crown of Barbed Wire. Oh, now you see, this is where something gets introduced in the album that I've never experienced before, and that is James whining.
Oh, that's my favorite song on the album, by the way.
Right, okay. Yeah, it reminds me of like Subpar Load era, and it Crown of Barbed Wire. I'll get into it further once we've gone through the whole album, but not a fan of Crown of Barbed Wire, and Chasing Light is okay. Dark Side of Sun, really like, as I've mentioned previously. Too Far Gone is a strange one for me, because it's 4.5 minutes, so it should be like a breath of fresh air, and it isn't.
That's my second favorite song on the album.
Right, okay. Okay. No, actually, do you know what? I might be being a bit harsh on that. Actually, yeah.
Well,
No, no.
mostly the thing
I think
that
lyrically, I have more of a problem with it because it's more James whining. It's just,
well,
yeah,
the whole album is a very personal thing with James. So there's a lot of
yeah,
quote unquote whining, but I think the
yeah,
thing that really, I said this on our review, the star of the show is James's singing. Like his
yes,
voice sounds absolutely
yeah,
incredible, and the choruses of some of these songs are really the thing that bring
yeah,
them up for me, because not just the melody, but just the way he sings them. I'm just like,
yes,
sounds
yeah.
so good. So
Yeah, yeah, he sounds reborn. He sounds like somebody actually who is actually really enjoying singing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think that's probably also related to he's enjoying the catharsis of what he's singing about and what he's getting off his chest. And
sure.
that's like the depth of feeling is what you're hearing. And I agree. I mean, I said to you when the singles were out that, he was clearly the best thing about it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so then, yeah, Too Far Gone. I've been a bit harsh on that. Yeah, don't mind that actually. Room of Mirrors, great tune. A lot of people raving about this. Yeah,
which
no
is
complaint.
which is weird because that's my least favorite, and it's a really great example of how a lot of people think just because it's fast that it's good. And I'm like, well, if you take that beat away, everyone, if you took the double time beat away, I'm sure everyone would be like, that's not that great. But as soon as you make it fast, everyone's
Yeah,
just like, great
I
tune.
don't know. I think you're being a bit disingenuous there. Funnily enough, I caught a glimpse of a video review of that song and that song only by Ol Rake from Evile,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, he was sort of breaking it down into the riffage and the era that the chord progressions were reminding him of and all that, and I could see where he's coming from. I'm Yeah, I think it has a kind of Rush feeling at the beginning. I know quite a few people have mentioned that. I don't think it sounds like Rush. I think it's got a little bit of a Rush feeling.
Mhm.
And Inamorata, yeah, it's all right. A lot of people seem to think it's like amazing. I
Well,
think it's
once again, I think
it's
I think they're focusing on the midsection with the big harmony guitar part, because I think if you took that out, people would find it
yeah,
less impressive. But I
yeah,
mean, this is me talking about an album that I absolutely love. So even the songs that I'm like not as good, to me they're still great. I think this album is a massive step up from Hardwired to Self Destruct.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I totally agree. I think the band are back on song. I think James lyrically I find it wearing.
Uh-huh.
Um, it is what it is. Um, but the other thing, and it's kind of obvious, and it's kind of like I kind of almost don't want to go there, but I have to. And that is um, just the one-dimensional rhythms that we are offered all the way through. Lars rocks up with his 5 drum beats for the entire album, and it's wearing as well. I mean, if you just at times it's just drumming on the nose. It's what a fucking drum machine would do
Well, I
if
mean,
you played it that riff.
to
And
be, I mean,
yeah,
but you're talking about a drummer who's never been spectacular at drumming.
I
And
look, I disagree. I think if you go back and listen to Master of Puppets, that that as a drumming
that
performance is absolutely
that is rose-colored glasses, my friend. Because if you really like sit behind a drum kit, find a drum kit, sit behind it, learn songs from this new album. There are so many little changes and random things that he throws in that you're focusing on the verse part where he's just holding the beat down. But if you really listen to all the little things he throws in that go either with a riff or to accentuate a riff, he's really doing some great shit
no,
for Lars. For Lars.
right. Okay, and what you just described, I've already described as on the nose.
Yeah,
It's it,
I
I think the
really do
stuff
think that.
I think the stuff you think is intricate, I think is Janet and John. It's what a child would do.
Well, but I
It's
really do
just
think that if you go and listen back to the albums that you're holding up so high, his drumming wasn't that fancy, or it really is a lot of the same shit over and over again he would do on those albums.
right. Okay. Well, I look. I don't think it's any. I don't think it's any uh, secret that Lars has got worse, and yeah, I just think that there's yeah, five drum beats. I'm sticking by it. I'm afraid.
No,
I
yeah,
think
it's yeah.
I think if you put another drummer in place,
It wouldn't be
you
Metallica.
really see, um, yeah,
Yeah.
a huge difference. I think his drumming lacks depth and is on the nose.
Yeah, I just think I have no problem with any of the things that you're saying as long as you're not comparing it to old stuff where he just did the same kind of things, maybe just faster because he was younger. But
No.
the whole entire band for dudes that are quickly approaching 60 or are already there, um, to me is pretty impressive. And the drumming didn't
Yeah.
there's nothing about the
Yeah.
drumming that make because in the past, like especially when you go back to like Load and Reload, there are songs where I listen to what Lars plays and I go, well, the song doesn't really need any more, but if I'm focusing on the drums, there's nothing happening. So I mean, I've had my qualms with him in the past. If I have a gripe about um 72 seasons, it's Kirk, who to me it bums me out that he just doesn't seem very adventurous anymore. And it's all very like things that you would already expect from Kirk. Now that's a
Yeah.
different thing because that's a guy that if I go back to solos he did on the first several albums, even going up to the Black album, I'm just like these are amazing. And now they're pretty good solos. And so that part is is the part one thing where I go, I wish that was better. But other than that, I like it. So,
Yeah. I think for me, it's Lars's lack of work on the toms, and it's his insistence on snare and hi hat. And a prime example as well of his, for me, childish style is the beginning to Inamorata, where he's just hitting his cymbals, and it sounds like in my mind I can see a child sat behind a drum just hitting the cymbals on the beat all the fucking time. Nothing
also
else.
also
Nothing
the
else.
hi-hat is so loud too.
That doesn't help. Thank you. That does not help. Cut the bin lids there.
It's like when the rest of the band drops out and it's just like the hi-hat, I'm all like, whoa, turn that
Yeah.
down a little bit.
There is times where like listening on earbuds, you're kind of like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's yeah. Anywho, all in all, yeah, not bad at all. I bought it and I didn't buy hardwired, and I'm playing it, and I'm finding that I keep going back to it as well. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not something I must listen to that. It's like, no, that's what I want to listen to. There's songs on that and maybe with a bit of time I'll get more into the ones that I'm struggling with. But yeah, all in all, a nice surprise.
Yeah, I've taken a little break from it just because I listened to it several times all in a row when it came out.
Yeah.
But whenever songs pop up, I'm liking them more and more every time. So it is that kind of an album. It's there's no. Some people are like trying to compare it, or like basically, I guess because it's the Rob Trujillo trilogy of albums at this point, and people talk about Death Magnetic. I'm like, no, you can't. There's no comparison. Death Magnetic is miles above this album. it's really hard to compete with Death Magnetic for me, because that's an album that
Yeah.
I absolutely love. And
Yeah.
this one's great, but no, not
Yeah.
not in the same league for me. But
Yeah. No, I completely and totally agree.
But yeah, so but yeah, if anyone wants to hear more about what I have to say, Eddie and I talked for an
Yeah.
hour and a half on it, and we picked apart the things that we didn't like, and we talked a whole lot about the shit we did like, and it's a nice little convo. But
Cool.
but I mean that
Cool.
leads us to some. I'll go ahead and jump in with one that real quick that I know you didn't talk about, but it's one that you should check out because I think this is up your alley. The 10th album from Australian punk band Frenzal Rhomb came out.
Oh yeah, I missed that. I don't know how. I don't know how that wasn't on my radar, but I must have missed it.
I mean, I mean, they've only been around since the early '90s, but I don't know. You'll catch on at some point. But the album is called "The Cup of Pestilence," and it's produced by Bill Stevenson, so it sounds really good. But it is like the skate punk shit that I like. It's fast, melodic.
Well, we like Pairs, so
yeah. It's fast,
like
melodic. It's riffy. It's
Brilliant.
it's got solos.
I'm in.
It's
I can't wait to hear it.
It's 19 tracks and only 2 of them are over 2 minutes long.
Now I want to play it now.
And but it is a lot of fun. And
Stop it.
I'll send you a link. But it's for those of you who are watching at home, yeah, it is that fast, riffy skate punk stuff that I love. If there's anything that might turn somebody off, it's that the vocalist has a very nasally delivery, but that's how his voice has sounded that way for 30 years. Yeah. So it's not going to get any better. But these dudes don't even need that long to make a song. Like there's minute and a half songs in this album where you're just like, man, that gave me so much in a minute 30 seconds. And it's fun. So yeah, that's a brief one. It's on Fat Records, and it's when it comes to punk albums, huh?
What's the name of the band and the album title again?
Frenzal Rhomb. So RHOMB is Frenzal Rhomb, and then The Cup of Pestilence is the name of the album.
Right.
And yeah, when it comes to that kind of punk, I don't think it's going to be topped this year. I mean, it might be. I might be surprised, but it's going to be tough.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's my brief review.
Brilliant. What's up next for us? What else you got? You're on a roll here, dude.
I'm going to bring this one up because you might talk about this too. The new album from Enforced, which is called War Remains.
It is, yes.
I know that you recently interviewed the vocalist from.
Well, it's my turn to direct people to a 90-minute chat.
Yeah, there you go.
Where it's a 90-minute podcast with Knox Colby from Enforced, who I know very well, and we have a right old chat, talk about all sorts of shit that you're not going to hear him talk about anywhere else, really. So go and listen to that. There'll be a link somewhere, wherever you're listening to this or watching it. So yeah, what's your feeling on it, mate?
So third album in for these dudes, and
second real album,
sure,
if we're honest.
And the short version is that it's really good and I really like it. The long version is it's taken me a little while with this band even now because they sound identical to Power Trip. And so even the vocalist sings he does vocals just like Riley Gale. And so the first time I heard them, I went, oh, guys. I'm like, it's really well done, but it's like there's a band out there called Negative Self, and they've modeled themselves after sounding identical to Suicidal Tendencies to the point where the dude even sings like Mike Muir, and I'm just like, it's good, but why? And then, but in this case, once I I have to shake that off and just go, all right, because Power Trip are not the most original band in the world. They borrowed parts of their sound, and sure, and so letting that go, and this new album was a really big way to help me do that, because there's no denying that it is just a motherfucker of an album from beginning to end. Like, it is riffs and very well produced. Also doesn't help that it's also mixed by Arthur Risk, who did all of the Power Trip stuff. So it also sounds very similar. So if you're a fan of Power Trip out there, get the new Enforced album, War Remains. But I really enjoy it. Like, once I was able to just be like, look, just throw yourself into this and have a good time. Do you like this kind of thrash? And the answer is yes, I do. And so I think it's really good. There you go.
Well, I was never a fan of Power Trip, so I've never had those problems. Funnily enough, we do mention Power Trip on the interview that we did, because they knew each other.
Yeah.
But they weren't from the same scene, as it were. Just seems that, they've been around about the same length of time as Power Trip as well.
I mean, that's I don't know about that. Their first album came out after the last Power Trip album came out.
Yes, but they've been around for years making demos and stuff.
Cool.
Right. So basically, I feel kind of quite close to this, because I can consider Knox a friend, and in IRL as well as just in showbiz terms. I really like it. I mean, it's just as well it's good, because otherwise I'd be in a really difficult spot. But no, I really like it, and they're just killing it, and they're working so hard. And I think the way they work as well, the way they just recorded the album in 2 weeks between tours, no fucking around, just like, oh, do you want a couple of weeks off? No, we're going to go and record the album. Boom.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'll be interested to see where album number 3 goes, because you can get away with 2 albums with similar-ish productions that have the same kind of virtues and the same kind of artwork. But by album 3, you have to have a little bit of color in the artwork, black, white, and maybe another color, and same goes for the music.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So that's the one thing that I really do think, I don't know, they seem like they have the potential to do it. So I'm gonna hold out on that. But yeah, you are right. I got to the point where the 2 album covers, like, just looking at them from far away without my glasses, I'm like, they look very similar.
If you instead of going to all that trouble, just make the JPEGs a lot smaller, and you have the same effect.
Oh, there you go.
But with your glasses on.
That too. But yeah. I think you are right, and I really hope, because they do have the potential to become a biggie in the scene, like and
I think so. And any band that works that hard, without a doubt,
Yeah, and I'm a, like I said, I'm a big fan of this kind of, people refer to it as crossover, but I don't know where the crossover lies. They said that about Power Trip too, and I'm like, that it just sounds like aggressive thrash music.
Yeah, totally agree.
I don't know where the crossover thing comes from. Maybe because of the vocals, they equate it with hardcore somehow. I don't really know, but I do. But I like this. It's like, it's like Slayer on steroids almost sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. A thrash band being accused of being punky because of how their singer sounds. Interesting.
Yeah. But.
Okay, I'm pretty much good with everything we've said about Enforced.
Yeah, go check it out, everybody. Yes. I feel like we're blowing through things, but I can. So do you just have the one reissue that you're going to talk about, and that's it?
No, I have the 7-inch single as well.
Okay. Well, let me get
That's,
my last. Let me get my last one
that's
out of
not
the
really
way.
going to take very long, to be honest.
We'll get my last one out of the way because this is another one. This is one that you don't know of, and it probably is not going to interest you at all. But I really like it, so I'm going to throw it out.
Okay.
It's the new second full length album from the California progressive death metal band VoidCeremony, and it's
Okay.
called Threats. I love how like if any album I bring up that you don't know, you immediately giggle.
Yeah, yeah. I'm giggling. I'm merely giggling at how out of touch I am. So please don't think it's the other way around. And
Which is funny
like,
because I'm pretty out of touch too. But
well, in that case, welcome to Out of Touch, Bollocks.
yeah, but the album is called Threads of Unknowing, and it is very proggy death metal, a la like later death kind of stuff.
Right.
But with the growly death metal vocals, not like the high pitch stuff. But it's really good, and it's a lot to take. It's not long. It's just the songs are really dense with all the different things that happen and the time signatures and all of the things that they throw in. So it is one of those like several listens kind of things to get your head around everything. But the one thing that I really like about this album and something that's happening with the modern death metal scene, because something in like 2010, 2011, you get around that period of time, there were these newer death metal bands coming out, and they all had this kind of production where they thought we wanted to sound old school, but the only way they knew how to do that was to crank up the reverb on the vocals and the snare. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, well, that's not quite it. But everything has kind of come around now where these bands are sort of still trying to have a real organic kind of production style, but they've gotten way better at doing it. And
Yeah.
so now these bands that are good are now getting backed up by some quality production that doesn't sound, like it's been done on a laptop. It just sounds like a band. And but it's well produced, and this album sounds that way. It sounds like something that could have been from the early '90s, but it's just great if you're into that progressive death metal sound and want an album where you're constantly trying to do math to figure out the time signature. Then this is one for you. VoidCeremony, Threads of Unknowing. Great fucking
And
album.
right. That's proper endorsement.
Yep,
Proper
I
endorsement.
quite enjoy it.
Well, and it's funny you were saying about the production there, because the same kind of applies to Enforced, which is that a production from another era,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but with sound quality.
They're just everyone's just the producers that do that are just getting so much better at it, and
Yes.
I'm very excited about that because I like it.
Well, I think that's what put me off Power Trip entirely. I thought their album, the production just sucked entirely.
To be fair, you're not wrong. There are things about both of their albums that I'm like that could have been produced a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, it was like, I listened to it and I was like, right, okay. So if you're trying to recreate the era where albums sounded shit, well done. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but you've nailed it. It sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's grown on me, but yeah, that's a period of production that I'm glad is kind of, it seems like it's gone now. So
Yeah, and it's improving.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, 200 Stab Wounds.
Oh shit!
A-side,
Okay.
A-side or side one, Masters of Morbidity, and B-side, Fatal Reality. Now, I was going to say a bit of a fan. I mean, I've heard one song before, but funnily enough, ended up talking with Knox from Enforced about 200 Stab Wounds, who they've just done a tour with. And I've also spoken to their UK press guy as well, or the UK press guy for the label that I deal with. So I want to get hold of that album as soon as possible when it's available.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of weird because it's, I don't know, the production, the music is visceral, and it reminds me of kind of like a death metal version. Um, um, I'm trying to think. I don't know. It's kind of thrashy and raw. But the vocals are like total death metal.
Yeah.
But with a kind of little punk edge too. Have you heard them at all?
Yeah, yeah. There's a handful of bands that are doing this, what can easily fit in with death metal, but also can easily fit in with hardcore and some other stuff. You know, there's a band called Fuming Mouth they're almost like death metal and noise rock at the same time, and then there's Terminal Nation, or like a hardcore punk and death metal band. So 200 Stab Wounds is like that, and 200 Stab Wounds is like, those are like up and coming dudes. Like they are.
Yes.
Everyone's starting to talk about them. But yeah, I dig that style because it's very aggressive, but it also seems like it's not necessarily tied down to one thing. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot, and I just think that there's more to it, you know.
Yeah.
Also, the band I was thinking of musically, that 200 Stab Wounds remind me of, like occasionally, not all the time, is a band from a couple of years ago, Cryptosis.
A little bit. I mean, less proggy, but yeah.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like when it's fast, it's that kind of intensity. And I really like the way it's produced as well, because there's death metal overtones in the vocals, but it hasn't got that kind of dirgy production. It's kind of sharp and hardcore-y, thrashy, kind of crossover-y, not at all. But I think I've made myself perfectly clear.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like that.
Yeah. That's how it sounds, folks. There you go. I think that's I've painted a beautiful audio landscape. Do you know what? And sorry about if you're listening to the podcast, I've just noticed on top of your records at the back, I've just noticed the Carcass box set with the plate and knife and forks.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. That's one of my favorite box sets ever, just because there's a video of me unboxing it that Carcass shared, and it's just me giggling for 10 minutes opening it up because I thought it was so fucking great.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I remember seeing the video, and I remember seeing the video shared by Carcass as well. And I remember thinking, that you should be proud over that, because that's really cool. It's not often Carcass share content of other people.
I'm telling you that I've seen Carcass twice recently, and the first time I was pretty up close, and there was a moment when Bill Steer looked at me, and I'm like, does he know who I am? Because he gave me like a look, and I'm like, is he looking at me? I think he does a lot of the internet stuff for the band, but
right.
So
it would have been him or Jeff, and you definitely need you should definitely tweeted them.
Yeah.
It said like, see you tonight with your little video. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So lastly, well, we know what it is. It's an album you recently listened to and decided you didn't like.
Nope, not really.
Which Demanufacture. Basically, it's a real watershed album, I think. It's an absolute high point of the genre. I think it's a high point of their career, which that is undoubtable. That's
oh yeah,
they fucking peaked. And to give it some context, sometimes in bands now you will have a clear vocalist and a growler vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the ultimate extent of something that was started way back when by Burton C. Bell, with his gruff singing on this album and his clean singing.
Yep.
It really brought so many people heard that and went, yeah, maybe that's something you should do, as they looked at their singer. And singers listened and went, hey, I wonder if I can do that.
The first time
You
I
know,
heard Soul of a New Machine, their debut album, that was the first time I remember ever hearing that kind of thing, where he was doing these really brutal sort of death metal style vocals, and then another part of the song he would be doing this singing, which like I've always liked the way that he sings because it almost sounds like robotic in a weird way.
yeah,
Because it and so yeah, no, I agree. Like that band is the first one I can ever remember doing that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. And look to where it's led. All these years later, there's bands that have that will have two vocalists because of something he started doing. And I think it's and say what you like about Fear Factory, the career and history is checkered at best, but
Mm-hmm.
what they brought to the scene. I mean, an entire genre, and genres, and something that went on to affect other genres, and also the music as well. The music is, brutal and precise. It was Colin Richardson's greatest production at that point,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone heard it and just went, whoa, this is fucking insane. And little known fact, engineered by Steve Stilly Harris, his first metal job after completing his production work on Obnoxious.
Wow, interesting.
Oh yeah, 5 degrees or 7 degrees of whatever. I'll always cram my little face into history if I can. But just a fantastic album, and also contains two brilliant cover versions. Firstly, Dog Day Sunrise, which is an absolutely beautiful cover and a brilliant pick for that album. And another one, which is Your Mistake by Agnostic Front. So you've got Dog Day Sunrise by the Teardrop Explodes. Yeah, okay. And then Your Mistake by Agnostic Front. That's literally like one for Burton. Yeah. And one for Dino. But fantastic. And the way, and also what I'd completely forgotten as well, is the way the album opens. It's absolutely brutal. It's like Demanufacture, Self-Bias Resistor, and Zero Signal. Those three tracks, one after another, are just pummeling, absolutely pummeling. And they're one and only finest hour for me.
It's like this is like what we used to do, the classic album review at the end of the episode.
Yeah. I guess it is. We've snuck back in time.
Yeah, my thoughts on that album when we did the ranking was that I thought that they broke so much new ground with Soul of a New Machine, and then going from that to Demanufacture, you can hear where they're wanting to go, but they sound too much like the influences that are seeping in. Because there's stuff that sounds like Godflesh, and there's stuff that sounds like Nail Bomb, which had happened a year or two before Demanufacture. But then I thought that the album after that, the third one in their trilogy or whatever, that one I thought was way more, sounded just like an original band. What was the name of the third album? I don't remember right now. But I really like that one. So Demanufacture is a good album, but it sits in between two that I think are really good, and that one is just good. And so, but that's just that's really just like because I've never been a huge fan. The first album is the only one that I really really like, because there are people that are huge Fear Factory fans, and I know that like every album is probably great to them. But we ran into the tagline that we kept saying in the episode was Fear Factory fatigue, because you would get to the point where you're on a certain album and you're like, I feel like they've already been doing this a lot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Demanufacture is a I can't deny that it's a classic album. So
let me tell you about a story about Fear Factory fatigue. I was chatting to my good friend Gene Hoglan, and he was saying, and we were talking about a gig he'd done the previous day, and he went, you never guess what happened. I just got to do the voice. This kid came up and he gave me a Fear Factory album, and he said, "Will you sign this for me, please?" I said, "What do you want me to sign for it? I'm not signing that." And he said, "Why not? You play on it." And I said, "Did I?"
Yep, he did. He played on one album.
That is Fear Factory fatigue right fucking there for you.
Yeah. That's also when you know that you've played on too many iconic records that you're just like, I don't even remember doing this.
Really? But I just love it. It was Fear Factory.
Yeah.
It's like, Gene knows everything he's done, He'll fucking name drop an album that hardly anybody listened to from like 20 years ago and say, check that out. Yeah. And he's just like, "What do you want me to sign that for?" Because you play on it. Do I? Brilliant.
He's busy right now because we got more Dark Angel coming pretty soon?
Yes, I don't know how soon album wise, but I've been in contact with the one and only Ron Reinhardt. So yeah, I'm gonna hit him up for a chat soon, and try and get the lowdown on what's going on with them.
I would be fascinated to hear what they would do if they had something new come out, because that's a band that I really didn't expect them to get back together. I don't know why. They just seemed like one that they were done. So I don't know.
I think the fact that Don Dottie tried to get the band back together, and I knew that Gene was already behind the scenes putting it together. Don had obviously got wind that they were going to announce. So Don comes out with he's bringing back Dark Angel before they and that was just ridiculous. But I think that I think it kind of made them more determined to do it,
Yeah.
And it's great because Don Dottie was like, hey, and if Gene's putting something else, putting something different together, hey, look, I'm cool. I've got no problem with Gene. I'll sing on that. And like Gene's like, well, we've got a singer now. So
it's so funny when those things happen with bands. Like how would you feel if all of a sudden the old drummer from Acid Rain started a new version of Acid Rain with new people except for him? Like, how would that? It's just so bizarre that happens these days.
Do you know what? Well, it sounds like Steve Grice's Onslaught, which was exactly that. It was Steve Grice, the original drummer.
Yeah, but it's happening a lot in like the 80s hard rock scene with bands like Rat and LA Guns, where like the drummers are just starting their own versions of the band, which is funny.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, it's great. It's like going back to the 80s. I love to use to go to shows and not see that guy.
Yeah. Oh well, but
brilliant. So Fear Factory fatigue, that's something to look out for, people. I may go and give Solemn New Machine another whirl, and also the album that's after Demanufacture that neither of us seem to know what it's called.
Yeah, and the one Gene Hoglan plays on is actually really good too. After that is when they get a little bit Isn't there
an album with a drum machine on it?
There is an album with a drum machine. They're now re-recording it with a drummer, which I think is so funny because I'm like, the way that they produce things, it's just going to sound like a drum machine anyway. It's like, why even bother?
Yeah, some guy is really going to go to a lot of effort to sound like a drum machine.
Yeah,
poor bloke.
But anyway, yeah. So there we go. That's it, right? That's all. I
think that's it. Unless there's some late breaking heavy metal news story that I'm unaware of.
Nope.
What do you think? No,
nothing I can think of.
Shall I check?
Sure.
Right.
You get you late breaking heavymetalnews.com and see if anything pops up.
Okay. Sum 41 announces split.
Like they're splitting up, or a split album?
Yeah. We're excited for what the future will bring for each of us.
Oh, all right. Well, farewell, Sum 41. We hardly knew ye. Um,
Yeah, that's that's a shame, isn't it?
Never been big on them. I enjoyed some of their songs in the early 2000s, and that was about as far as it went.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the same. The All Killer No Filler wasn't bad. But yeah, other than that,
Well, you heard it here
not.
first, folks. Well, second. You heard it here second.
Well, I should mention this actually because it is Motorhead Day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Motorhead have shared an animated video for their cover of Metallica's Enter Sandman.
Which I don't think I've ever heard, so that'll be interesting to listen to.
So there you go. And yeah, there's a podcast coming out about that.
When
That
is that? When does that
listen
come
to.
out?
It's coming out in a couple of days. May the 10th.
Oh, so when this video comes out, it'll already be out. So if you haven't watched it yet,
Yeah,
go watch the video we're talking about. Are you announcing it
which
yet?
is it's there's no video you can watch because it won't be released on video. There's only an audio podcast. So if you just search for the Motorcast, it's the Motorhead official podcast that yours truly does. And I spend an hour having a lovely chat with Jason Newsted, former bassist of Metallica and the band Newsted.
Who apparently are coming back. So that's fun.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, they're playing shows or a show.
A show.
Yeah.
A show. So they've got to do a show and then see where they go from here. So,
Well,
but yeah, it's cool, man.
I like seeing him do stuff. So whatever he wants to do.
Exactly. Do you know what? It's one of those. The heavy metal community is a better place if Jason Newsted is in it and doing stuff. That's kind of how I feel.
I agree.
He's one of those guys that if he was a sportsman, he'd be one of those guys that everybody likes, even fans of other teams. They'd be like, no, that guy's all right.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Cool. So yeah, everybody go check that out if you haven't already.
Yes.
But I think that wraps it up for us. We were very efficient this episode, which I love.
Yeah. Smashed through everything, mate.
Yeah. And
great work.
So yeah. So we'll reconvene in a month or so. And
yes. Yeah. Knows? Well, hang around. Don't disappear. Because I need to chat to you.
Okay, well, I won't disappear, but you guys are going to disappear. Thank you all for listening and watching.
Thank you. This is my house.
This is my house.
Hope you enjoyed that.
All right, bye, everyone.
That's the acid rain ego wall.
No, oh man, I want that. I want all of those on my wall.
That's a T-shirt. Far right hand corner. That's a T-shirt.
Oh, that's the original artwork, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
There you go.
All
nice. Right. Okay. See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.